It says to extend the maximum allowable dock length. And I think the public hearing was, I think our ordinance, to be in accordance with our ordinance, I think we should say extension into the lake. And those are essentially the same thing, I think. But I think the purpose of the public hearing was to entertain variance to our ordinance. And so I think we should change that to extension into the lake rather than allowable dock length. Does anybody have any concern about that? Okay, any other changes? Would anybody like to make a motion to approve?
I move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That passes. So we're on to public comments for items that are not on tonight's agenda, and I don't see anybody, so we'll move on to new business. And tonight, under new business, we have a revision of the Ramsey County Water Patrol contract, and Sergeant Bolin is here tonight to give us some background on that. So thank you for being here, and
thank you for having me.
And let us know what you have to say here.
My name is Sergeant Jeremy Bolin Knutson. I'm currently the Sergeant of Water Patrol with the Sheriff's Office. Previously to that, I was Water Patrol Deputy for the last 7 years. So with everything that's going on in society now, and after the pandemic, everybody appeared to go and buy jet skis and boats and all other forms of watercraft. So as the Sheriff's Office is seeing the increase of traffic on White Bear Lake, we would like to increase the amount of patrol hours that we actually spend out there. And I believe right now it's about 120 hours is what our current contract is. We'd like to increase that and allow not only our part-timers but our full-time deputies to come in on their time off and actually spend more time on the lake and educating boaters and enforcing the public safety laws on the lake. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer. We're trying to move forward with society. The lake is getting more and more popular. The water levels are up. It's starting to turn into a mini Minnetonka. So we want to prevent anything from happening, such as last year we had a weapons complaint at Ramsey Beach where an individual and a small child was hurt. We had a couple boating accidents on the lake this last summer. We had some stuff take place on the lake this last winter. So we do have a boat permanently stationed on the lake right at the VFW. They're graciously allowing us to store our boat at their dock. So it's quick for us to respond. We've been dealing with some things already here over at the Memorial Beach. Some people have been going out there and moving the buoys closer to shore so they can get their boats closer to shore in shallower waters so they can tie up and hang out. I don't want to use the word party, but so we want to prevent that from happening. If the boats get too close, we're going to have more incidents. If last weekend or 2 weeks ago, we ended up making an arrest there. We got called there for a weapon complaint. Somebody was actually moving the buoys closer to shore. Somebody approached them. Threats of violence were made, implied that there was a weapon on board of the watercraft. We ended up responding and making a DUI arrest out of the incident. Other things, are the jet skis out, the hour before sunset, that golden hour there. So we've been doing what we can to go out there and enforce that, educate people, not so much writing citations for that, but try to educate them. We remember faces. There's only 5 of us in Water Patrol, so when we see somebody, usually if we run into them multiple times and they're not getting it, we'll try to educate them further and write them a citation so they get it. The only problem is that when you deal with juveniles, it's not always that easy, so then you have to call parents. Let me see here. What else can we... so the way that right now our contracts work is we have part-time deputies. So right now we have 4 part-time deputies assigned to Water Patrol unit, and they work typically Friday evenings, Saturday during the day, and then Sunday during the day. So what we'd like to do is we'd like to increase our contract with the Conservation District and allow full-time deputies to be able to come in on their time off during the week and work on the contract. So say if I'm off during the week and I have nothing going on a Wednesday or Thursday or a Friday, I can now come in and just work White Bear Lake. I don't have to worry about what's going on over in the other contract cities or within the county, I should say, not just the contract cities, because Water Patrol is a county entity and not a contract city entity. So we do have 86 lakes in Ramsey County. We have 18 miles of the Mississippi. The last 2 weeks, a lot of our time has been consumed with incident down on the river last week where we lost a 12-year-old boy and then ended up being able to recover him. And the week before that was an incident on Jarvis Lake where 3 individuals were out in a canoe, no life jackets, unable to swim. The canoe was swamped, and we ended up having a recovery out of that as well. But we're then assisting other agencies like Washington County this last Saturday. The weekend before, when we were over in Hennepin County, it's just we're getting pulled everywhere for 5 people. So, and in those incidents, most likely the full-time staff are dealing with the critical incident while our part-timers are out doing our enforcement. And that's where, right now, where our funding is going, where your funding is going, to where the boat is on the lake. We also have one deputy just strictly doing invasive species, so he goes around and checks the boat launches to make sure that the transportation of invasive species aren't coming to White Bear Lake or coming out of White Bear Lake. So with that, I'll open it for questions. If anybody has any questions for me, I can explain more in detail if you need other things. But right now, I don't know exactly the hours on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. I believe it's later in the evening, so like 4 to 8 on Friday nights. We'll just say that that's the hours. Saturdays are usually 10 or 11 in the morning until about 6 or 7 at night. And then Sundays are about the same hours. Usually they'll be going home about 4 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon. But we would like to increase that maybe, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. The sun's going to start setting here earlier as we move closer throughout the summer. So, and the lake's getting busier. You can see it for yourself. We're doing the best that we can. But as one full-time deputy, I've got the entire county to be where I need, to respond to and be available for other emergencies. So, we can't, on-duty full-time staff can't just be on White Bear Lake all day, every day. We don't have the staff for that. Our part-timers, if we were under an extended contract or a renegotiated contract, we can actually have somebody in on their off time or a part-timer come in and then designate them just to that lake. So does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, are there, and Kim, and thanks for all that. That's valuable, I think. Can you remind me, was there a proposal for additional hours? Is that what we received? I don't recall.
Yes, Eric
Brott. Commander Brott.
Commander Brott had sent in, and he would like to double it from 120 to 240. The hourly rate staying the same, but they wanted to be able to increase the hours for all these reasons. And Alan also then helped us contact Washington County to see if they offer any assistance or have volunteers or anything, and at this time they don't do anything with White Bear Lake. So the Ramsey County Patrol are basically the only patrol we get.
Do I understand it right that currently that's $4,920 a year, so
Correct.
that would double to whatever that is, just about $10,000?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so what do we think? Alan?
Mr. Chair and Board, this will be kind of a softball to law enforcement, but I think the last time I tried to explain the relationship of the Water Patrol to the district looked different in terms of management. So to help the board out, would you please explain the use of the volunteers as it relates to Water Patrol? I know that factored in heavily the last time we reviewed the contract and how money was spent and time was spent on the lake.
Okay, so I'll give you a breakdown of the structure of Water Patrol. So we have a commander, and now we have 2 sergeants. The sergeants work opposite of each other, so every day there's always a sergeant on. The sergeant's hours are going to run from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m., so there's always a supervisor on during the peak hours throughout the day. And then currently we have 3 full-time deputies, we have 4 part-time deputies, and we have about 45 reserve deputies, which are volunteer, non-paid. Currently, I'm running a reserve academy with 15 new cadets that are in the program that will be done by the 7th of July. While the part-timers or full-timers are on duty working on the contracts, whether it's the Conservation District, White Bear, countywide, Shoreview Lakes, or the Mississippi River, we allow those reserves to partner with us, and then they act as our boat partner. So they're getting volunteer hours that go towards the total hours of the sheriff's office volunteering, and roughly it's about 10,000 hours a year pre-COVID. So we haven't really been, our programs are suspended during the COVID, so we're starting to fire back up. And then the part-timers the reserves are anywhere between the ages of 18 and 95, we'll say. There's no maximum age limit. They come from a variety aspects of life. Some are from inner city, some are suburban or outstate residents that come in and volunteer for us. They go through a 8-week training academy, so they're trained in defensive tactics. They're semi-sworn, they have citizens arrest powers, they act under the authority of the sheriff's office. They do not carry weapons, and their uniforms are substantially different than ours. They don't have the stripe on the pants, they don't have the dark brown lapels, and their patches say reserve. And they're strictly volunteer. And most of them just want to give back to their community, or they're using this as a stepping stone to further their career in law enforcement. And while they're out, they get to be boat partners, whether they're operating the boat, they assist with on a boat stop. It's not a traffic stop, but a boat stop. They'll assist maintaining the boats, so holding on or putting the bumpers out so the boats don't ding up against each other, damage somebody else's private property. So, and then they assist with transports if there happens to be an arrest made, so the deputy can stay on the lake rather than having to go to 1411, process an intoxicated operator, and then down to the jail where it frees that deputy up for that whole time. So the deputy's pretty much just doing the on-scene work and then is able to get back to work. Does that answer your question?
More or less. I hope I'm volunteering for you when I'm 95, but that's a ways from now.
The door's open. I'll bring you on.
Thank you.
And one thing I'll mention here is we did receive an email, the board received an email, somebody basically complaining about the jet skis, and I guess the speed that the jet skis
I've
go on to
received
play.
several this year in that matter regarding the jet skis, their speed, and harassing the loons.
Yes.
So disrupting waterfowl and the speed, we all know it's 35 miles an hour year-round on White Bear Lake. All we can do is increase our patrols. I wasn't aware of any of that. Previously, I was assigned back to patrol, and then I came back to Water Patrol after 3 rotations. So I wasn't aware of any complaints yet this year. So whether they're contacting you and they're not contacting us, but...
Then I forward the emails to...
Commander Brott?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so any other... Yep.
Do you mind? Thank you very much for doing what you do. And this is a little bit unrelated, but I've seen a lot of bow riding this year out there where it's families that are on a pontoon and they have kids sitting across the front, which is illegal and super dangerous. I think there was a death.
Outside the rail?
Yeah, I think there was a death this weekend in northern Minnesota.
Yep.
Do you ever do concentrated enforcement or education on things like that?
We have in the past. We don't do an operation, we don't focus on an Operation Dry Water, like a DUI enforcement on the lake. We will target specific lakes if we're familiar with what's going on in certain time frames and whatnot. So it's not that we can't or that we don't, we just haven't yet.
There'll be like 4 cute little kids sitting across the bow of a pontoon with their legs hanging over, and it's just awful
One
to
wave.
see. And I think I've seen it every day, every weekend this year. It's awful.
You know, I honestly, personally, I haven't been on the lake yet. The last 2 weeks I've been busy with the operations that have been downtown on the river. So, and that's where we were focused on the last 2 weeks since school pretty much got out. But now our part-timers are back up and running. So the part-timers can only work so many hours a year. A full-time deputy can work about 2,055 hours a year, and a part-timer can work half of that. And that's just based on our licensing. So the full-time license is different than a part-time license. So the part-timers don't receive benefits. They're not, they are part of the union, but they're not full-time staff, so they don't receive like the benefits that a full-time employee does. And the full-timers are primarily dealing with the complaints and responding to emergencies while the part-timers are doing the enforcement. So with that, I mean, we will more than likely, I will pass it on and have them more focusing on that. If our part-timer, if we had more time, and we can extend their hours further into the dusk, then we can actually have people out there when the sun sets and actually be able to target those isolated incidences of whether they're bow riding and everything else. The other thing I should bring up to you is that, the sheriff's office is in the process of taking over the law enforcement actions of the state fair. With that, we may end up losing a full-time deputy here and there to go out to the state fair and cover a shift. I'm speaking prematurely. I can't say that that's going to happen, but it could. If something happens and that deputy gets pulled down there, where our part-timers can't. They're not getting pulled down there to cover shifts. They would be strictly, if it's a White Bear contract, they're on White Bear. And I run a tight ship, so I want, if the people are paying for you to be out there, I want you to be out there. I don't want you, you're working White Bear Lake on your contract, and then I'm finding out that they're sitting over at Long Lake having a chat at the boat launch. That's not what you're here for. Get back over to the lake, So that's all I'm going to say.
Any other questions? Okay, so I think what's in front of the board is a proposal to basically double the amount of funding of the contract, and by my calculation, that takes it to $9,840. And that would be for the 2021 year. So we would have to find that money somewhere. And where would we find that money, Diane?
In the fund balance.
Okay.
We would use that.
All right, so we could take the money out of the fund balance. It's available there. Okay. So what do we think? Any discussion? Anybody want to make a motion?
I'd like to move that we approve
Second.
the increase.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to approve. Any discussion?
This is highly appreciated by the community to have better law enforcement, especially with the increased usage.
Oh.
So I think it's a good use of our money.
And the lake is busier than I have ever seen it this summer. And I appreciate very much what you guys do, but I also appreciate the attitude of let's try education, make sure that is our first goal. I mean, safety is obviously the first goal, but not necessarily just to write citations, but we can help educate people. That's the goal.
Absolutely. And I share Sheriff Fletcher's prospect on that. Not everything has to be answered with a citation. When somebody clearly doesn't know or they're not informed, just received a large package of the new 2021 boater safety booklets. And then the updated laws and rules and regulations that the state and the DNR have set forward, to where now we can start doing education. And as the year goes on, that education may start turning into more enforcement. If it's the same people we're dealing with all the time, how many times can I educate you? But that we do pride ourselves with that. We don't need to go write hundreds of tickets when people just may not know.
Okay, so any further discussion? Oh, Alan?
Just to add a couple of things. First off, I congratulate Mr. Fletcher on the work he's doing, and I think it's almost worthy of applause that the Sheriff's Department came to the board and basically said, we could do more for you if you give us more. So I think that's it's not like the board screaming, we need more. So they're recognizing a need and coming and saying, we'd like to do more for you. So I'll give them a lot of credit for actually seeing that. And I think the last time I talked to the patrol and all the volunteers was about 4 years ago.
Yeah, it was about 3. Yeah.
So if you've had turnover, I'd be happy to come and do a little seminar over at the headquarters too.
Great.
So
and if there's any changes to the ordinances that the Conservation District passes, that we'd love to have you come back and educate everybody. Just so we understand the ordinances and what you guys expect of us as well. So thank you for that.
a lot of it's nuisance stuff. So jet skis and wakeboard boats. 2 big ones, at least down in the metro. So anyway, thanks, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so I'm going to call the vote. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, that passes. Thanks again for your time.
Thank you, sir. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're on to unfinished business and nothing there. Reports and action items. The executive committee didn't meet, so there's no report there. So we're on to the Lake Quality Committee. Mike?
Okay, the lake level today is 924.34. It's down a little bit from last month, but to be expected with the weather we've had. It is dry, need rain. With all that heat and humidity, the lake temperature is up nicely. It's up to 76 degrees, very comfortable swimming.
Wow.
Be careful of the swimmer's itch, though. If you want to go swimming, go out pretty far from shore, a couple hundred feet maybe, and you'll be safe. It's not everywhere, but there's a good chance it's... and usually by the 4th of July, the cycle is done and there's no more swimmer's itch. The last thing is the lake management proposal for Eurasian water milfoil. In the papers you have in front of you, you'll see the bid from Lake Management, and it offers different products, and they're products that we've used before, except for the bottom one, that Procilla. And we don't know how many... We haven't done the survey yet, so we don't know how many acres we're going to treat, but we will use one of those products. We are budgeted for $32,000. We have a $4,000 grant that's been approved, but it won't be received until we fill out all the paperwork. So I would like to make a motion that we accept Lake Management's bid, acres to be decided, for a sum not to exceed the budgeted amount of $32,000.
I second.
Now, in choosing the product, I keep a map of where we treat which product, and I like to kind of change it around so that the weeds don't get used to something and try to come back stronger or get immune to it. So that will be decided once we have the survey done, and it'll all be done. The application will take place. In fact, I'm sure it will all before the next meeting. So.
And I'm sorry, Mike, when did you, have you done the survey yet?
Have not done the survey yet.
Okay, but that's imminent, I imagine.
It started out slow, and then we got this really hot stretch, and the weeds popped up pretty good.
Right.
So it's still not, we treat down to 8 feet, and right now the heavy doses are about 6 feet down, so we're kind of getting in the range to jump on it, but not quite yet.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, that passes. Any questions for Mike? Okay, thank you, Mike. Lake Utilization Committee, Mark?
Currently, just one dock dispute just south of Bel Air Beach, and, yeah, we'll be getting some pictures of the bay probably this week.
Okay. Lake Education Committee, Scott?
Right. I guess first here is Meredith stuff. If you
Oh, sure, I'll give you a quick update. Everything is going really well with our social media. I'm hoping to create something that can be a resource for us when we eventually gain enough following. That's it.
All right. Any questions for Meredith? Okay, Scott?
On the sign project, we're really close to being ready to go with that. We got orders from Ramsey County, from the city for the boat launch, and from, I believe, all of the marina operators. That's as far as we're going with it right now. The city thought they could have a bigger one by Matoska Boat Ramp, so we're going to order them in 2 sizes. The orders that we have are for 6 small ones, and even the small ones are a little bit bigger than those plastic ones because there's more stuff going on. We have like 8 of those and then 1 large one. And then I'd like to order just a few extra, 1 extra large one and 3 extra small ones. Usually we'll give 1 of the small ones back to our volunteer graphic designer, which is my daughter, as a token for thanks. And then we'd have a couple extra in case anyone was damaged or we realized there was some other place where it would be effective to put this. So yesterday we got the bid from the DOT sign shop, and for 11 small ones and 2 big ones, the bid came in at $514. So I guess we'll prepare it and put the order in. I would like to make a motion to spend, I guess, no more than $600 on signs.
Second?
We have a motion and a second to spend up to $600. And do we have that in our budget?
I'm not sure what the line item is.
Don't we have a Lake Education or something?
I think it might be, well, it's wherever the website is, right?
6050.
Same.
6050?
Yeah, general public info. 6050.
Oh,
6050.
oh, okay.
And
So we can,
you have
Yeah, I was saying,
2,500.
you haven't spent
Yeah,
it on
so-
anything else, so I think
Yeah.
you have plenty.
so we could spend up to
Sure.
600, no problem.
Perfect.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, I'll call the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, that passes. Thanks for all the effort.
Okay, that's all I have.
Thank you. Any questions for Scott? Okay, thank you, Scott. Treasurer's report, Diane.
Mr. Chair, Board, Treasurer's report for June 2021. You should have a copy. And I'd like to make a motion to accept checks 4700 through 4704.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That passes.
Thank you. Next, you have a copy of the budget for 2022. The numbers for the expenditures are the same as they were last month when we took a look at the budget. The apportionments for the cities have been put in and the budget is balanced between the revenues and the expenditures. This budget needs to be approved tonight, and then at the end of the month, we send a letter to the cities along with their apportionment, so they can see our budget for 2022. So for discussion purposes, I'd like to make a motion to accept this budget for 2022.
I second.
We have a motion and a second to accept the budget. Should we raise the 6010 water patrol costs from 4920?
I thought about that, and I just wanted, I guess, to see what the board wanted to do, so I left the numbers the same. But I kind of thought if we, not knowing really next year, maybe we could just do what we're doing this year, is take it out of our fund balance, since it isn't, we do have numbers there that we could use. But it's up to the board, because I can change that number, and then it would change the apportionment also.
But
Okay, what do we think, board?
That works.
I think that works.
what was it, to increase it? Is that what you mean?
So here's, I guess my feeling is that it's pretty likely that it's going to be higher than the 4920. And it seems like a best practice would be to increase that to, at least the double of what we're paying now, but maybe make it 10,000, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that's a little bit of a hassle just because
No,
you
it's
have
not.
to.
No, it's not a problem at all. I just wanted you to have numbers to see tonight.
That's perfect. So is anybody opposed to raising that to 10,000 in this budget? Okay, can I amend the motion to do that? Okay, so I'll amend, and Mark, is that okay?
Yes.
Since you seconded? Okay, so to make that line item 10,000.
Now, it looks like the apportionment to the cities is going down a little bit.
They went down about $20,000 this year. So even by changing that to 10,000, it's only going to
Yeah,
vary
it
those
still
a
goes
very few,
down.
a small amount.
So
yeah.
they should be happy,
Yeah, exactly.
even if we spend more money on water patrols.
And is that delta? Why do we have that delta? Is it the milfoil treatment? That's a big delta, about 20,000.
Yep.
Well, that might account for, that accounts for a bunch of it.
And does anyone who lives in Washington County have any idea why the patrol from Washington County is not doing White Bear? Because they were for a while coming over, which, I mean, we used to have quite a large budget for enforcement. And one of the board members from Montemita, I contacted Washington Patrol and got them to come over. Do you remember that, Mike? And I think we kind of reduced our budget for patrol by half.
Washington County actually has a boat on the lake.
Yeah, so,
They keep one out there. They do it for on-call, but they won't commit an officer to it. They came to us, I think, if I recall, 3 years ago, and said with the river, they just don't have the personnel to keep somebody out here, even if we paid them.
They said with that, this year they told us that, and Forest Lake is overwhelming them.
Yep.
because they were on our lake for a while.
I'm going to cover that in my report, but I'll jump ahead a bit and tell you that after a couple of conversations with Washington County, what they said before, according to Mark, and I, of course, told Kim the results, and I don't know if she forwarded them to everyone, but it's a huge challenge with the St. Croix River, and I mean, Washington County stretches, quite a ways as opposed to Ramsey County, and even with Ramsey County having the Mississippi River and a couple of larger lakes, it's nothing like the St. Croix and Forest Lake, and don't forget Lake Elmo. So, I mean, they're very busy, and so they just, it sounds really harsh to say, but they will not commit to any solid time. White Bear Lake's in their rotation, and they get to it when they get to it, and so they try to be out here, at least make a presence on the bigger dates, and certainly on weekends when they can, but they're largely reactionary. So when I made the pitch for extra hours, we're willing to pay more if you're willing to spend more. Starry and the company said we would if we could, but there's been many other agencies looking for extra patrol for a long time. So best thing I can do is tell everyone who's on that side of the lake to get a hold of your commissioner, and that's where the change would have to come in, is at the county commission level, to say we just need more funding for that specifically. So they are patrolling, so don't think that there's just no presence. It's just that you're not going to see them nearly as much as the contract group that we get from Ramsey, put it that way. So.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second with the adjustment. Any additional discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right, thank you.
Will the board like a new copy of the budget sent to them then?
I'm fine if we just, can we get it at our next meeting?
Sure.
That's fine with me.
Okay.
Because I have to send it out to the cities by the end of this month, but you'll just get a copy. Okay.
Okay, next month. Okay, thank you.
Any questions for Diane? All right, thank you, Diane and Kim. Okay, board council report. Alan?
Thank you, Chair, members of the board. Seems a little weird to be in front of you now looking at human beings as opposed to just Hollywood squares on a computer screen. But anyway, I think we did pretty good getting most of our meetings up with the Cable Commission's help. That worked pretty well, just sending things to them and then having them posted. So hopefully, knock on wood, we don't have another pandemic for a few decades that would necessitate doing that again. Normally, I have a report from the DNR, but our DNR enforcement characters out with some family stuff, so he promised a debriefing, and if there's anything of note, I'll send it to Kim and send it to you guys. So with the season just sort of winding up, nothing's really come through the court system yet, but sounds like we've got some aggressive folks watching the lake, so that's a good thing this year, because it's going to be busy if what I've seen so far is going to hold. So stay tuned. I'd stand for questions.
Any questions for Alan? Okay, thank you, Alan. Announcements, Kim?
I don't have anything new. No.
Okay, and thanks, Kim, for keeping us all together when we were not all together.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so we're on to item 10, adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you all. Nice job. Yeah, thanks for being here.